Hello friends out there in YouTube land. Today is another morning meeting and you know what that means. It's time for some coffee. I like mine black. Today we're talking about marketing, and for our purposes, advertising and marketing are two terms that will be used interchangeably. So let's kind of talk about how we do this organically. When we do this organically, we do this through ourselves, and the first way to do that is with business cards and making sure that everyone that you meet knows about you and your services as a photographer. So when you think about organic interactions with people, they're usually one-on-one. They usually happen at a place where you may have been invited or may not have been invited. It might be walk-in like a restaurant. It might be invited like a party. And they happen to do with people that you may have a common interest in or common dealings with already, because that is the type of interaction that would allow you to talk about yourself as a photographer or make it known that you're a photographer. We're going to explore this just a little bit further using those examples. Organic interactions, specifically a place where you're not invited, like a restaurant. You're not invited in there by anybody particularly, but there are at least 2 or 3 people that may help you throughout your experience there. And because of the environment, they have to talk to you. Most of these people are in service industries. So if you're going to an establishment that serves you, you have an uninvited opportunity to talk about what you do as a photographer organically, and the person there kind of has to listen to some extent. For example, a waitress is trying to earn a tip, and the waiter or waitress, this wait person, may want to inquire about you, to learn about you in order to help identify herself or himself with you, make a little bit of a bond, build some rapport, and help give you better service. Also helps to increase the probability that they will get a tip. In doing so, you have the opportunity to talk about yourself as a photographer and promote your business because they're already there and willing to listen. This doesn't work as good at Hardee's when you go up to the cashier who's just trying to take your order and then you start talking about yourself as a photographer. So there are some differences in these types of interactions. But the whole purpose here is that in the service industry, specifically with waiters and bartenders, they are people that are going to be able to promote your business because they see thousands of different people. So we're going to establish 2 new terms here. We're going to establish a very important person, a VIP, and a COI, a center of influence. And these are all organic exchanges that you can create and develop as you're trying to build your photography. This is part of your marketing and advertising strategy. Going out to the pub, the bar, Wendy's, wherever it may be, in order to engage in people that are in the business of listening and engaging with other people. That's where you will find your VIPs and COIs. The difference between a VIP and a COI, a very important person, and a center of influence, is that a VIP can put you directly in front of an audience that wants to hear your message. However, when we think about the restaurant workers that were so helpful earlier, we're thinking about the people that may be able to develop a friendship with, right, that can then turn into leads because they can evangelize your business. They can share your business. They can talk about your business to the people that they see. Now, they may not talk about it to everybody, and they probably shouldn't, but if someone's coming in and they're having a bachelor party or having a big celebration because they were engaged, they might say, you know, I know this really great photographer. And that's the difference between the COI and the VIP. The COI kind of does your job for you, but you develop a cognitive relationship with them over time. And a VIP is a person that you may not know as well in person, maybe more transitory or in passing, and it could be an organization that helps you get in front of your audience so that you can spread your message. In any event, let's talk about some good locations where you could find great COIs. COIs, centers of influence, are people that will really help bolster your business. And the first place is restaurants, specifically nice restaurants that people would go to when they want to show and when they want to have an engagement party. So think about something like that. Maybe Denny's isn't the best place for that, but it could be. It doesn't mean that it isn't. It just means you want to think about how you're going to spend time, because this will cost you money. You're going to have to go in, have a cup of coffee, sit down, and make friends. You know, get to know the manager, get to know the people. And that may sound difficult for some of you, but since we're talking about building your business, we're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about marketing. If you have a hard time talking to people, that's a telltale sign that you're going to have a hard time growing your business. maybe if you've got the budget for it, that you're going to need to hire someone that can do this for you. But in any event, it's very easy for me to go into a situation and sit down and just become chums with the server right off the bat, because I want to be friendly, I want to talk to them, I want to even take their picture. Lots of times I carry my camera with me, and so I'll take a really cool photo. Interestingly enough, if I take a nice picture of the server by the end of the night, I might be taking several pictures of all the servers together at the bar, or even the manager that's on duty, and now we've established a friendship, and I'll send them a nice little 4x6 card or whatever, or an 8x10, and they put it up in the establishment. So we've talked about now organically, specifically to develop centers of influence and very important people or persons or organizations, and the differences between them. Now that we've got that on lockdown, let's switch gears and talk about our inorganic ways to promote our business. And this is kind of where the more technical savvy person may shine. So this is where if you have a hard time making friends with people right off the bat, then this part of the conversation could be very helpful for you. So now that we're talking about our inorganic means, we're really talking about ways that influence people when you're not around, and we're talking digitally. And we're definitely talking social media, because if we're not talking social media, then how is your message going to get out? But the first thing is people think about when they think of social media is like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Flickr. Each one of those platforms has a very different communication strategy for the people that may be following you. So when you think about Facebook and you think about Twitter, Facebook and Twitter have two completely separate communication platforms. You know, it's 156 characters on Twitter. That's it. That's all that you can share. Short messaging service, SMS, real tiny, short little ideas. So Twitter for me and Instagram for me are both about discovery. They're about making people aware. When I think about those platforms, I think about messages where I want to alert people to something new that I've done. So like a video that I might upload would definitely go onto Twitter. If I'm going to do a model shoot out at the beach, that definitely is going to go on Twitter. If I'm going to go and if I'm shooting a new location for a commercial client that I have, that definitely go on Twitter. In fact, part of that is part of my marketing package for them is the social marketing that would go into beautiful new photos. You can find the photos here, get the full scoop. I almost do like a little story or a report, like a news release, press release about it on my Twitter that then would turn over to my Facebook. So we just brought in Facebook. Facebook is for more in-depth interaction and communication. If you want to give the full scoop, the full Monty, then Facebook is going to be where I communicate that best. I'm also going to be able to offer things on Facebook, such as deals and purchases and stuff like that. Facebook is also going to allow me to reach an audience that may find out about me through other means, specifically through Twitter and through my website. But all in all, Facebook is where you're going to give a larger picture of the story. You're going to give the full story. Twitter is where you're going to give smaller snippets of communication, and they should both work in tandem. If you've got a story that you've published on Facebook, you definitely want to tweet it on Twitter with a link to your Facebook so that you can have this cross-pollination of business. Something else that we've got going on there is your .com, your website. Now, I'm not sponsored by anybody. A lot of times you watch these and you hear .com. No one's paying me for anything. I don't get paid. But whenever you do choose on a .com, I usually go through Whois, WHOIS. And I go to Whois because they're usually more inexpensive. So if I go buy something, I can buy a .com for like $8 or $9 sometimes when they have a sale, depending on what it is. But more importantly about that, what does your actual website do for you? Well, it promotes your business when you're not there by explaining who you are. So when you go and create your website's not your blog. You know, Facebook really is kind of like your blog. Your website is where everything's going to be presented precisely the way that you want it to be. It's your online storefront, and it's the spot that allows people to really become interested in you. Now, my website, which I love the way that it looks, I've realized over time that it doesn't really entice anybody to purchase through me, because a lot of the purchases that people make and the inquiries that I get are from my Google advertising and my Facebook advertising. They're not from my website specifically. When noticing that, being able to look at the numbers and having an analytic profile over time, Google Analytics specifically, has allowed me to be able to revamp that, and I'm in the process of changing that so that my website makes it easier for people to interact with me and actually purchase my services. Right now, it happens to work more as a place where clients come to view their images rather than attracting people. And that's just one part, one benefit from having good intel from your different media streams and your marketing streams, because you can see what's working and what's not working, and then adapt to change it ahead of time. We're going to move on into AdWords, like how do you sell your product? How do you get an advertisement on Google? Like how do you get ranked and all that stuff? This isn't a search engine optimization class, so all I'm going to say is that you can sign up for an AdWords account. You can create a small little snippet, something that would appear above the search results, sometimes with pictures, sometimes without. Most of the time for me it's been without, and it's just a short headline, and then that headline has specific targeted keywords that go out to whatever area that you've asked for it to go out to. That's a returning cost. So you would think about it as, how much money do I want to spend each month in order to generate X amount of inquiries? And it could be $25, it could be $50, it could be $100. The ad's going to run at the end of the month. They're going to bill you, and it's just going to continue until you stop it. I have a lot of success with that, mainly because you have the ability to completely target exactly the client that you want, and even the income bracket to some extent that you want by demographics, and then get it out there to them, your message, and then they can see it. What you'll find is that your website clicks will go up quite a bit when that happens. It's important to know that you have these different budgets, and it's almost a competition. You're bidding on advertisement space. So based on how thick your competition in your area is in your particular market that you're trying to advertise in, you could be over or under bidding yourself based on your budget. So if you underbid yourself, then your ads won't be shown, and if you overbid yourself, then your ads will be shown, but guaranteed, because you're bidding higher than everybody else. But then you're overpaying just in order to be first. It depends on what metric you've got going on. The same thing happens with Facebook. Facebook marketing is very good. In fact, people can purchase on Facebook too, very easily. They can redeem deals and stuff like that. So I would definitely watch some videos about how to do that. Heck, I might even make one. Facebook has been one of the best places for me to sell my portrait packages. Oh my goodness, I put up a portrait package on there on Facebook, and I sell out very quickly. And I might sell 10, 20, 30 portrait packages over X amount of time in a month on Facebook, if the marketing and if I've put together the proper ad. It doesn't mean that they're always going to work. You have to look at your ad in your analytics from Facebook to find out if your ad is really performing the way that you want, and then you got to tweak it a little bit. But there's another stream that you can use in order to help bring in some money. And it's all about marketing, right? So let's move on to, again, we're going to talk about some auction sites. Auction sites are really cool. Think about Gig Salad, Gig Masters. I don't particularly care for those two. I like Thumbtack. Thumbtack has given me the best results, especially early on. Thumbtack is an auction website where customers request a particular service from a professional, and then there are professionals in the area that are registered with Thumbtack who have an active account, which is free, all get notified of this request. You can see the request and all of the information, and then decide if you want to bid on it. So it's basically a request for bids is what's actually happening here. The customer puts in a request through Thumbtack's request system. Everybody in the area that has something to do with that request, like a photographer, all the photographers in the area get the bid, and then 5 of them, a total of 5, can respond. That's it. So you got to jump on it very quickly if you want to respond. Now, the difference is, since all of the information is free up front, you only have to pay in order to bid, and you pay based on the amount of the size of the money that the customer wants to pay in their bid request. What I have found is that when I first started out, the first 2 years of my business, Thumbtack was the way I made money. But at the same time, the first couple of years of my business was at the lowest that my business was, that I was selling my photography services for, was the lowest. And as my price raised, as I charged more for my work, Thumbtack dramatically went down from like 100% of my work to like 5% of my work over the past 5 years. And I've had to find work in other places. And that's because, quite frankly, on Thumbtack, you're bidding against other pros, and a lot of it is for the lowest bidder. And the customer doesn't always understand that the lowest price for the only thing that they're going to keep on their wedding day, hey, the pictures are the only thing that they've got 10 years later from the wedding day. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way when people want to bid low on that. You know, you're going to spend $1,000 on a cake, but you want to, I've seen bids for $150 for a photographer for 8 hours. What? It's just ridiculous. The worst part is the system is fed because there's someone out there that doesn't think that that's ridiculous. They think, $150 for 8 hours, yeah, I'll go do that. And they don't really, they're not really a photographer. They're not producing. I guess it's not fair to say that someone's not a photographer. You are whatever you think you are in your head, and that's fine with me. But for the type of work that I want to do, $150, $500 isn't worth getting out of bed. Because when I go back into all the planning and all the editing and all the work that I do in order to make someone's wedding, we've really got to, it's got to be worth it for my time. And most weddings I put 40 hours worth of work in over the period of time that they hire me to the period of time that I deliver. And would you work for 40 hours for $150? No, probably wouldn't. And that's what I'm saying. So when you're just getting started off and you need to build your portfolio, sites like auction sites like Thumbtack are excellent because they can help you get clients and get money now. When you begin maturing in your work and you're looking for something a little bit more, you need to move to something else. You need to move to like wedding shows or site sponsorships where you can participate in these, like I'm talking about weddings, so bridal photography, bridal shows, groom shows, things like that, cake decorating classes. That's where you're going to want to spend your money. I heard you say, why a cake decorating class? No, you don't need to learn how to make cakes. Just decide to go in there and take portraits of the class for the instructor. That's another great way to build a COI that turns into someone that's promoting your message, and these people are decorating cakes. Likelihood is they want to decorate a cake so that someone can buy a cake from them at some point in time. There's going to be at least one person out of every class that wants to do it for their business. So you, as an established photographer, can offer to photograph cakes for people in the educational environment of the cake class and make some great friends that you can then become COIs and VIPs with one another, to where you spread each other's word. Once again, cross-pollination of marketing. The last area of this inorganic style of marketing I'm going to talk about is Living Social and Groupon. All right, so here's what you have to understand. If you want to build your business in photography using Living Social and Groupon, it's been my experience that $65 to $75 price point is where I can generate the most portraits, portrait package sales. The difference is people, when you're on Groupon, they're going to cut it in half. They're going to split it 50-50 with you, 50-50 with them, and then they're going to take 2.5% for processing. So you really make 47.5% of your total. And so if you apply this, what I said earlier, like would you work for 8 hours for $150? You definitely, you figure if you've got to get in your car to drive to wherever you choose to meet, and then do an hour-long portrait session and then drive home, you've got 1 hour plus 30, you've got 2 hours. Is that worth $32.50 for you? It's $15 and some change an hour. And guys, that was before you edited the photos. Add another hour, now you've got 3 hours for $32.50. You got to ask yourself, is $10.50 an hour basically, is that what you want to work for as a photographer? No, I don't want to do it. And I'm not saying that you should do it. If you were going to make a Living Social ad and sell photography for that particular reason, I would say don't. You'd be better off bidding on work on Thumbtack. You definitely would be. So when is the instance that you would be better off on Living Social with that kind of an ad? You would be better off if you had some specifics in your portrait session that protected you. Specifically, 5 people is included in your price. Every additional person is $20, paid for when they arrive. That's easy. People are very, very, very easy to get that, to go along with that program. Plus, they get to see the stipulation beforehand. How many images will you deliver? 10 images from your 45-minute, and that's another thing. Don't make it an hour-long portrait session. Make it a 45-minute portrait session for them. You know in your brain that it's going to be about an hour, but you're going to commit to only 45 minutes. That way, if this portrait session's going really nicely, then you can stick around because you figure they're going to purchase some images. You might take a few more. But if it's just, you get some people that you show up with that are really rude and you don't want to be around anymore, then you just want to deliver whatever images, your 10 images. Don't give them any images either. Make them go into a proofing gallery and then put your best images up there. So if they get 10 to choose, right, each additional image is $10, okay, or $5 or something. They have to purchase any image over 10 that you want, that they would want, and then give them 20, 30 images to look through, and great images. And so get your master set of images. This is what I suggest. Take your master set of images. Let's say you shot for 45 minutes. You got 22 images that you want to deliver, right? And then convert them to black and white, right? So you got 2 sets of images, a black and white set, and then you've got a full color set. People often really enjoy the difference between an image in black and white and color, and so that'll double the amount of images that they have to choose from, as well as give you more opportunity to sell. If you're going to convert to black and white, I would definitely suggest taking, after they've already had a black and white conversion, processing them again. So take a little bit more time, add some film grain, and make them really look different than just a black and white conversion. That's what I would suggest. And then lastly, watermark your images, right? If you're going to give them a print release, give it to one person in name for 6 months, you know, so that they can download the image and print them. Give a print release for use with images online on social media sites that have your watermark, and by doing so, you can digitally stamp that image and then find it later. Also, create a custom naming scheme. Like for me, my business is Robert Hamm Photography. For all my portrait work, it's RHP. For my corporate work, it's Town Center Media, TCM. And then information about the customer name and first and last name. So it's like RHP, and then JGRI, and then the date, and then whatever else. It becomes a long thing, but this becomes embedded in the metadata. And if you're using Lightroom or something like this, which I would assume you are, make sure that that your metadata is copied through to the image on your library screen, where you can adjust the metadata and put copyright usage, because the guy at Walgreens is going to look at that. You see, he's going to look at that. The machine won't let him print it most of the time unless he overrides it if you've got copywritten data in there. So you want to make sure that the person that's printing it is really the person that you allowed to print it for the time you allowed to print it. Now, it may not matter to you, but it does matter, because for $65, they didn't, you know, this part of the advertising strategy with Groupon and Living Social is, once again, not about that particular portrait session. I did 57 of these, 57 of these last year, and I booked 2 weddings off of it, 2 signature weddings. So once again, all of the things that you would do that are smaller in volume but greater in quantity, or smaller in revenue but greater in quantity, have to be able to generate the other part of that missing revenue somewhere. So my purpose for this type of portrait session was to meet people and do a great job, shake hands, kiss babies, provide beautiful photos that people will remember me and suggest me later. And that's exactly what has happened twice. It's paid off quite a bit. Plus, I still got paid from it. So when I look at that marketing avenue right there, I can say that Living Social brings in X% of my business from direct sales and then indirect sales afterwards. I hope this has been helpful. I'm Robert Hamm with roberthamphotography.com. Catch me on Facebook and YouTube at /Robert Hamm Photography. You can find me over on Twitter at RobHammPhoto. And guys, it helps me tremendously when you like, subscribe, and share. So please, if you found this video helpful, do so. And as always, keep shooting, my friends. See how hot this coffee is now. Oh, it's nice and... That's good. That's good.